It is a huge ring, 21 feet. Now, as he gets to ring center, looking at Jimmy Young getting ready to join him there. Let's see. Foreman's back to us. Jimmy Young not even looking at him. Now look at George. Somber. Using the stare. Well, it never worked for Liston against Ali. It didn't work for George against Ali. But that's Ali, who's been a super champion and a superstar for a decade and more. Black and white. Jimmy in the dark trunks. George in the light trunks. Bout's underway. Jimmy Young, the quick left jab. His reach will surprise you. It is as long, maybe a half-inch longer than George's. Just probing. Young's task, not to get careless, not to get impatient. There's that quick left jab of George's. Even when it doesn't look like much, ask the man who's hit by it. It's like a lamppost, a pistol. And he's staying away, flicking the left jab. Too close to be hurt by way of tying Foreman up, out too far to be hit by Foreman. Foreman comes right at the opponent. 1 minute left in the first round. Clearly a tactical round. Feeling out Grosso. Physically, Foreman looks huge, and yet he's never been more trim. He looks so much bigger than Young, you wonder, can Jimmy be a heavyweight? Young taunting Foreman, talking to him. We approach the end of round one. The bell for round two. George Foreman, the red or the light trunks. Jimmy Young, the black or the dark trunks. The first round, a tactical round, as I said. This is the third time that Waldemar Schmidt has cautioned George Foreman. It's not like Olympic or amateur boxing, however, where a fighter will be penalized and lose points in the scoring of a round.
He's pushing, ref!
That was the counterpunch ability we talked about. Jimmy Young with the right after a Foreman lead with the left. Left to drop. Young popped it right in. Foreman pushing off on Young. Chief response from the crowd to this fight thus far has been boo Foreman based upon the referee Waldemar Schmidt's remonstrances to George. Now George tried to get in quick. He had a left lead that only grazed.
Left hand, left hand.
See the countdown for the second round in your lower right-hand corner. Young with a good right against Foreman's chin. Foreman instantly enraged, went after Young. Jimmy Young, always a surprise, at least in every fight we've covered with him. Round three underway. The arena is a steam bag. Well, up in the 90s at the very least. The fight is already filled with sweat. In the first two rounds, I think the principal focus would have to be on George Foreman's clear attempts to manhandle Jimmy Young the way he did Joe Frazier. However, it's been the tactic of the Young camp to emphasize this before the fight. And so Foreman always the pursuer.
Hey, ref! Go, ref!
There was nothing there. Screams from the corner, and the crowd reacts. Wait a minute. He took away a point from George Foreman. I didn't realize they had that rule in effect here very candidly in Puerto Rico, but he told each judge to take away a point from George Foreman. Remember in the Landover fight how Jimmy Young would lean his head through the ropes and out of the ring. Nobody penalized him for that. It's one of the reasons we told you it's so hard to score a fight involving Jimmy Young. Third round action. Good left lead by Young. Another left lead by Young. Foreman looking purposeful. Thus far in this, the third round, has thus far been unable to get to Young. We're almost at the end of round 3. 3, 2, 1, go ahead. The bell for round 4. Jimmy Young in the black or dark trunks coming out to face George Foreman in the red or light trunks. To reset, it has been totally a tactical fight thus far. Young's plan, obviously, to get Foreman to lose emotional control of himself, to enrage him. And so at every turn, he is looking to the referee, Waldemar Schmidt, to complain about manhandling, brawling action. Right there, you saw another evidence, and quickly Schmidt responds. Foreman's job to control himself.
It just seems like Joe Louis used to say, you can run but you can't hide, and that appears to what's happening right now. And Foreman is so strong.
George with a left to the head tried to come into the belly, but it was picked off basically by Young's glove. He's got such quick hands for defense. Many of us used to wonder why the late Yancey Durham ever gave George Foreman a shot at Joe Frazier in Kingston, Jamaica. Couldn't understand it, because Frazier's style was so right for Foreman's. Young's style is now puzzling Foreman. Round 5, and there is anger in George Foreman's face. He was just badgering A with his corner, B with some fans. The very thing from his point of view he must not do. We are coming to you live via the satellite from Roberto Clemente Coliseum. They said Foreman had to punch shorter, and so he did against Frazier. But Frazier doesn't have the quick hands that Jimmy Young does, and therefore Foreman doesn't have to keep his gloves in punching position so constantly against a Frazier as he does against a Young. And he is not keeping his gloves steadily in punching position. Have you noticed? Fifth round action. Young said, as I noted 2 days ago, if I'm not hurt by the 5th round, it's over for Foreman. Unless we have reason to tell you otherwise, this is to notify our stations along the line that we are coming up with a station break. With a patch of gray in his head. But clearly it hasn't been from pre-fight worry. Coming up the end of the round, we'll return after this from our local station. 6th round action underway. Up till now, a dull fight. For the average viewer, much too tactical. Foreman unable thus far to get on track. Young trying to get to him with the jab, but Foreman always the pursuer. Foreman there attempting to go to the midsection.
And now off to the right, they can hear his corner asking him to jab, jab, jab.
See that left thrown by Foreman? It was a kind of cuffing thing, and that too, with a half-open glove.
Right. Oh boy, he's a pretty good defensive fighter.
skills of Jimmy Young. Foreman was let free by the referee. He lunged in at Young, and Young, who's a master at slipping punches and picking punches with his gloves, came back with his own counter.
Ooh, now that's flagrant right there.
Jimmy Young in this round has been just a touch more aggressive. Right there with the right. Counting down to the end of round 6. A curious fight. The bell for round 7. And another fight involving Jimmy Young that's difficult to score, difficult to decide. Foreman has been pursuing, but he's never gotten on track. He's been all tied up by Jimmy Young. Right there, Young was hurt. Right there, Young was hurt by a Foreman left. Now he's in trouble. Suddenly, Foreman connected. Young is in trouble. He's going to have to draw on every boxing skill to survive. It happened with a quick, jolting left. The power of Foreman is amazing. Now he's got him. Now he's got him. Question of whether or not he keeps his professional poise and can finish it. 7th round action. Jimmy Young in trouble. Jimmy Young in desperate trouble against the ropes. But Foreman trying to measure him. Can't connect cleanly. Young drawing upon every boxing resource. How overconfident Young's corner was between rounds. They told us no contest. But suddenly Foreman struck. And so, for the first time in his career, Foreman shows resurgent power in a later round of a fight.
But he should be smarter now. He should wait. He should wait and set him up.
Foreman is not keeping his professional voice.
No, not at all.
He's been frustrated for 6 rounds, and suddenly he realized he had the opponent. Falling him now. A left and a right. Young holding on. Still Foreman can't put him away. Hasn't even sent him to the canvas. 21-foot ring to negotiate in. Young going from rope on one side to rope on another side. Foreman teeing off. Young now getting together, collecting himself, trying to fight back. 7th round. Heavyweight action. Foreman's on as we go toward the end of the round. 35 seconds left. Getting led. Look at Young fight back. You see that right? Get into Foreman. Foreman arms grow leaden. Young, a courageous fighter, filled with boxing skills. The crowd on its feet. Now, if you wanted to know about Jimmy Young's heart, you found out about it this round.
And what condition he's in.
Jimmy Young. Foreman now knows how he can hurt Young. That much you must say. And Young now knows how Foreman can hurt him. But Young knows he can survive. And Young tries to assume the aggressor's role. Look at that right. Now he's going at George. This is the kind of fight we were expecting, hoping for. Crowd chanting, Jimmy Young, Jimmy Young, Jimmy Young. That's one of the things that so emotionally disturbed Foreman his whole career. What, he kept saying to himself, do I have to do to be a crowd pleaser? Why won't they give me their cheer? Crowd roars again as Young continues, unafraid. 8th round action. 40 seconds left in the round. Young with a left. Another left. Another. Counting down. We're going to stay with these fighters. Wild swing by George. 9th round action.
Move it, Jimmy, move it, Jimmy.
Jimmy Young on the move. He's a master at that. Right above us now, the sweat of the fighters pouring down on us, reminiscent of a brilliant Bob Considine description of the past when he was at ringside. Jimmy Young had a quick flurry there. Hitting Jimmy Young any place where he's vulnerable. Look at Young fight back, counterpunch. Right there, the Foreman was manhandled.
And Howard, if he can keep this up, even though only 29 fights, he's lasted 10 rounds 7 times, once 15 with Muhammad Ali.
Get out of there!
Good left by Jimmy Young. You couldn't ask for a more masterful exhibition than he gave in the 7th round when Foreman had him ready to go. How he collected himself, held together, and wound up on the attack. The end of the round coming up. The bell for the 10th round. Remember, this is a scheduled 12-rounder. So this is not a final round. Jimmy Young using every skill, using the size of the ring. Keeping his poise, his self-possession. Using his gloves to pick off the opponent's punches. Foreman has not too often had his gloves in punching position. Foreman, sometimes on the verge of losing his own emotional control. Quick to anger. Thwarted by the referee in the early going when he kept being accused of manhandling, even at one point being penalized a point by the referee in the score. There was a good left by Foreman. There was a good left. Now Foreman trying to capitalize. Foreman punching wildly. Not short, direct, and crisp like they've tried to teach him, but reverting back, or so it seems to your reporter. Would have been far more effective earlier on in this fight because it's well known the body blows accumulatively destroy the stamina of the opponent. But this is the 10th round of a 12-rounder, and it's a little late. You saw how quick Young's hands were to get in there. Quick combination. Keep throwing the number of blows Foreman is throwing from the awkward position he's throwing them from. And keep hitting air, empty air, the arm. Very heavy. Make no mistake about it, Jimmy Young has felt the weight of that body through 9 grueling rounds and misses the 10th. So he's a tired young man. He is a professional, this kid. You saw Jimmy with a wild right himself. So tired. Over the head of the crowd booing George Foreman for his falling tactics. We come to the end of the 10th round. The bell for round 11, and there is puzzlement in the eyes and face of George Foreman. He really believed that he would get to Jimmy Young, and quickly. It has not happened. There's Young with a left lead, scoring. George Foreman has rarely had to go this kind of distance. He got knocked out in the 8th by Ali, as you all know. Twice he had to go 10 rounds against Gregorio Peralta. Look at Young working to the midsection as he's in close with Foreman tied up. Jimmy Young growing in confidence now. 3 times Big George had to go into the 10th round. But I have no present recollection of him ever having to go into the left. Foreman off balance. Amateurish. Jimmy Young working him over.
All 12,000 standing with a round to go.
It's been this way ever since the 7th round when Young survived.
And it's hot.
But somehow you have to question the legs and arms and the stamina of this man because he becomes a little bouncy and not quite secure on that canvas as the rounds progress. you have seen for yourself. We approach the end of this round. 12th round action. Twelfth and final round. Look at Jimmy Young on the inside, scoring with combination. They'll know that Jimmy Young is a fighter after this fight. Somebody said to him at a press conference the other day, "A lot of us don't think you've got the heart." He said, "What do you know about my heart?" He said, "I my thing in the ring." Foreman, distance. Foreman off balance, reminiscent in a way of the Ali fight, the 8th round. A minute and 15.
He's tired.
Left to go in the fight. Foreman tries. Slip. No knockdown. Slip. Wait a minute.
It's counted as a knockdown.
He counted it as a knockdown.
Right.
Debris pouring into the ring. Foreman, desperation registered in his face.
Less than a minute, Howard.
50 seconds left to go. 1 minute. But the referee saw it as a knockdown, and so the 8th. Look at Young. Foreman with a half minute left. George has 15 seconds left, and he appears to be in no condition to do anything.
He's looking at the clock. Too late. 5 seconds.
This fight is over. And look at that crowd get to its feet. Look at Jimmy Young right above us at ringside, waving his arms aloft in what he feels is certain victory. I think Jimmy Young cleanly won this fight.
And here we are in that 12th and final round. George Foreman on the left and Jimmy Young on the right. That little left hand off balance, and then her high right glancing off the board. And now see if there wasn't a little bit of a shove, but he did go down. His gloves touched the canvas, and we checked with Ishmael Fernandez, one of the judges, a moment ago, and it is scored as a knockdown.
George, first your comment on the kind of fight Jimmy Young fought.
No comment, Howard.
No comment? Okay. Your comment, you made your fight plan stick as you saw it.
Yes, although I got hurt real bad, I think it was the 5th round. To tell the truth, I didn't really think I was going to make it.
It was the 7th round, Jimmy.
The 7th, I don't even remember. I think it was desperation.
Desperation, you say, kept you alive. Here's the decision.
116, 112 y millón. El referee Waldemar Smith. 118, 111 y millón.
Jimmy Young has gotten a nod from
Jimmy
two
Young
officials.
has won the fight. Jimmy Young with a unanimous decision.